Welcome back to October Reads, and today we have one of my favorite single-issue reads ever, the Saga of Swamp Thing, issue 21. You have Alan Moore on the writing duties, you have Stephen Bissette and John Totalbin on the art, and let me tell you, if you're going to read one book to get you ready, if you haven't seen the Swamp Thing DC Universe series, or I guess soon-to-be CW series Swamp Thing, definitely do some prep reading. This is the issue right here, all you need. But the story in this is amazing. You get the perspective of the Floronic Man, Jason Woodrue, and he has been asked by Sunderland, who you might remember from the show if you've already watched the show. If not, you'll get to know him in that as well. But basically, he's like your bureaucrat type, big business, wants nothing to do with, saving the swamps or anything like that. He just wants money and power, basically. That's all you really need to know about Sunderland going into this. And basically, he has hired Jason Woodrue. He's pulled him out of prison because, Floronic Man, he's a bad guy, of course. So he's been pulled out of prison to do an autopsy on a captured Swamp Thing. So Sunderland Corp has successfully detained Swamp Thing. They froze him. And now basically, the Floronic Man gets a chance to do the autopsy on Swamp Thing's body because, he's a doctor. He just wants to know what Swamp Thing is, and he doesn't want to be in jail. Who would? So it's a win-win for Jason Woodrue to do this autopsy for Sunderland. But just his perspective of what's going down during the autopsy is very interesting here. So he cuts Swamp Thing open. He tells you about how he has a heart, a liver, kidneys, and all that stuff, and he brings up the point. He goes, why does a plant-based creature need a heart that doesn't beat, lungs that don't process oxygen? Why does he need all of this? And his findings are what really reinvents the origins of Swamp Thing in this issue, where he kind of concludes that Alec Holland got murdered. He ran into the swamp. We kind of already know that story if you've read House of Secrets 92, and then the Bernie Wrights and Lynn Wine Swamp Thing, which we may pay a visit to on the October Reads series here. But basically, Alec Holland ran into the swamp, but the catch was Alec Holland died when he got murdered, basically. So the Swamp Thing that we know and love is not actually Alec Holland. It's a creature that was basically like a worm, and it fed off of the memories of Alec Holland and became something more. It became a thing, a Swamp Thing, if you will. So basically, Woodrue's concluded that Swamp Thing, he's not the human Alec Holland who we've all thought he was the whole time. He is a whole new creature that has absorbed the humanity of Alec Holland, basically. His memories, his thoughts, almost the human-like body, obviously. So after he gets these findings, he reports them to Sunderland, who, for whatever reason, he just doesn't like the findings, basically. He doesn't find anything he can use to make money, more or less, on this. So he immediately just fires Woodrue, which obviously doesn't make Woodrue very happy, because that means he's going to get shipped back to prison, not get compensated or anything. So Woodrue basically turns off the refrigeration in Swamp Thing's quarters, and he has to go back to DC. But we kind of find out through the narration and all this stuff that you see this little green sliver come out of the Swamp Thing corpse, and it kind of goes along the bottom of the panel as we keep going and hearing the narration. You kind of see it sprout and become bigger and bigger, and Woodrue's narration of it is very, very much horror, the way that the narration is put in here by Alan Moore, where they're talking about how Sunderland shouldn't go down there. He has no reason to go down to his own lab, but out of curiosity, he's eventually going to go down there, whether it's tomorrow, next week, next month. And the more narration takes place, the more you get to see Swamp Thing sprout out of his former shell of a corpse. And eventually Sunderland goes down and opens up the little place they're keeping Swamp Thing, and you see all the condensation and everything on the capsule that's encasing him. And Swamp Thing, of course, he's already awake. He's not happy. And after a while, he gets a chance to read the findings from Floronic Man. And he's asked, you know, did you read the report? He goes, I have. And that's when you go back to the narration once again of the Floronic Man, explaining that if Swamp Thing has read this report, Sunderland is a dead man, which you get to see the whole killing of Sunderland transpire as Woodrow's justifying, or I guess lack thereof, why Swamp Thing is doing this. Because once he reads that report, he takes away all of the hope, all of the grasp of humanity that Swamp Thing has. Because one of the biggest hopes going through the Swamp Thing run was him wanting to become a normal man again, him wanting to become Alec Holland and live a normal life. Now he has basically been robbed of that via this autopsy and report, because now he has to balance, is he a man or a monster? Now he actually knows the answer. He is not a man. He is Swamp Thing. So that's where this series really starts to take off with the Alan Moore run. Now you've got this monster Swamp Thing who doesn't know his place in the world now. Previously, he had that goal of, like, I'm going to find a way to become Alec Holland again. That has been completely stripped away from him in this issue. And what transpires after this in the Alan Moore run, of course, it's classic at this point. So I highly recommend this, not only for the phenomenal story in this book, but some of the best art I've seen from two vastly underrated artists. Just some of the panel work that they do, and just the way they draw Swamp Thing's eyes. It's both terrifying and you sympathize with him, and it's terrifying at the same time. You just got these like red irises, but you see the sadness in his eyes. They have that much detail in the eyes alone of Swamp Thing, let alone, you know, the characteristics of Floronic Man and that stuff. So I highly recommend trying to get this read, especially if you're thinking about watching the DC Universe series, or have already watched the DC Universe series and want a nice, you know, supplemental material on top of that. I can't recommend this one enough. This one is an easy 5 out of 5 for me all day. Obviously, 80s Alan Moore, 1984, right before he hit his big break with The Watchmen. Obviously, he had some other great stuff going on, but this was the beginning of something a lot bigger, obviously. So big thanks, guys, for joining me, and continue to hopefully enjoy these October Read videos.